And, ladies and gentlemen, I once again quote Kyle Brody. He told me to stand in the corner and face the wall. I could hear Emily screaming. He was cutting her. I looked. He was cutting a symbol on her face. Sometimes he would come up to me. Do you hear her? Do you hear the woman's voice? I would cry. After a few days, he killed her. He cut her open, and after he took everything out of her, he left with her, and I never saw her again. When he came back, he told me not to be sad, that he'd bring someone else back soon.
They burned Rustin Parr's house to the ground that night. He was hanged 4 months later, on November 22nd, 1941.
And I had a tape one time of a television, of a newsreel showing him where he was murdered, he was killed for murdering those 7 boys.
Why did you do it, Mr. Parr?
I heard voices in my head.
What kind of voices?
A woman's.
Whose voice, Mr. Parr?
No idea who it was.
Was it Satan, Mr. Parr? Was it the Blair Witch, Mr. Parr?
Could have been.
How did you kill the children, Mr. Parr?
With knives.
Mr. Parr, were you alone in the killings?
Yes.
Mr. Parr, how did you get the children into the woods?
Promised them things.
What kind of things, Mr. Parr?
Candy.
Did you kill other children that we don't know about, Mr. Parr?
No.
Over here, Mr. Parr. Mr. Parr, why those 7 children?
That's what the voices told me.
Mr. Parr, the writings on the wall in your house, what did they mean? What were the writings on the wall, Mr. Parr? Did you write those? Did you write on the walls?
No.
Who wrote on the walls, Mr. Parr? Mr. Parr, you've been sentenced to death. You feel this is fair?
Yes.
Mr. Parr, do you think God has forgiven you?
Yes.
Have you asked a priest for absolution?
Yes.
Members of your family been deceived?
No.
Mr. Parr!
What?
Nothing. I don't know why you have to have every conversation on video, man. Tape some evidence.
Because we're making a documentary.
Not about us getting lost. We're making a documentary about a witch.
I have a camera. Doesn't hurt, because we'll all look back on this and laugh heartily. Believe me.
So we're working over there, and all of a sudden I hear kind of a commotion from the other side of the foundation, and I hear like rocks banging together. And we kind of ran around the side, and apparently what happened was that Pete was removing a stone, and a section of the wall just caved in. Nobody was hurt. This section of the wall by this time was only about 4 or 5 feet off the ground. And so I checked, and nobody was injured. And I just told him, I said, clear this out a little bit. And about 20 minutes later, Pete comes running up, and he's got this dirty old, like a backpack in his hand.
By the way they had located those, it appeared that the stones had been there for many, many years and had not been disturbed. So it makes you wonder how someone had removed those stones forensically. In other words, stone by stone, carefully not disturbing them, and then putting them back in the same exact order that they were originally in the ground. Makes you wonder why they were hiding them there. Certainly not for someone to find them, because they would probably stay there for years and years more if they hadn't have done that anthropology dig.
What I recognized real quickly were a couple 16mm film cans. And there was also what looked like some videotape cartridges in there. this had nothing at all to do with colonial period stuff, of course, and so I called the sheriff.
Footage was found allegedly that was filmed by the 3 students. I contacted a local color lab. We got it developed, and I reviewed the film, and all I found was the students themselves, some scary noises in the woods at night, and a few examples of that, but no concrete evidence on what happened to the students.
Listen. Hello? Hello? It's all around us.
This backpack was found in sterile soil, which is like the bottom of a site. It's just, you know, from there to the middle of the earth is just dirt. The original house at the site had burned down, and so there was a layer of ash that was like sitting in the interior of the house, like the basement. So this knapsack had been in sterile soil with no evidence around it of disturbance. Over the top of it was an undisturbed layer of ash, and the whole thing was boxed in by basically a colonial era wall that was undisturbed. Even a forensic expert could not have put that thing into the site without disturbing the charcoal, the wall, or sterile soil. It was as if it materialized. And of course, that's not the language of science, so I just don't know what to say about this, really.
At the time that the footage was found, it was scary. It was very, very eerie. And it's not something that I really want to look at. To tell you the truth, I've kind of avoided it. I don't feel too comfortable with seeing the last few days of my brother's life on video. I really just don't feel too comfortable with that. It's very eerie.
Well, when they found this videotape or film or recordings of whatever it was, immediately the Blair Witch business emerged, and people became superstitious, and they said, well, maybe this is connected to the Blair Witch. Well, I thought it was kind of fishy myself. I looked at the whole thing as possibly a hoax or whatever, but it was still strange.
After reviewing the film, I still thought it was a hoax.
Well, there's always that possibility, but I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think it would be remote that it's a hoax because of the way the tapes were hidden and the fact that just to view the tapes, they are very realistic, and the tape is from a time period that the students would have been able to have taped it.